I'm Spannerman and welcome to MC Trader's mini review of this beautiful Ural Tourist. The history of Ural in Australia is scandalous. About 30 years ago, a car dealer in Sydney, Capital Motors, imported a very primitive version of this bike. They sold quite well because they were $1 a cc. You only paid $650 for the solo version of the Ural. As a result of the fact that they knew nothing about the bikes though, they developed a terrible reputation for unreliability. This has been largely sorted, and John Taylor, the current importer of these bikes, says that warranty claims are negligible or non-existent at the moment. So there are a lot of changes between the 30-year-old Ural and this one, and they've resulted in a bike that's much more civilised and much easier to live with. The old Ural was cheap because the manufacturers did away with luxuries like performance, handling, brakes, suspension and reliability. Well, all that's back in spades in the new version of the bike. When I say performance, you have to keep in mind that the top speed of the bike is probably in the vicinity of 115 to 120 k an hour, but its preferred cruising speed is somewhere in the 80 to 90 kilometres an hour range. This makes it quite practical for daily use and for leisurely touring. It isn't a sports bike, but it doesn't pretend to be. What it does have in spades is character. If you hate talking to people, don't buy one of these. Every time you stop at the garage or every time you go anywhere in it, you'll be pestered by people asking you questions about it. It's a comfortable outfit to be a passenger in, and it's actually a very comfortable bike to ride with very good ergonomics, and it's set up to make long distances seem as relaxing as they possibly can. The gearbox is a tiny bit clunky. This bike's virtually new, and I would expect the gearbox will soften up a little and get a little easier to use as the miles pile up on the new Deluxo kilometres per hour speedo. One of the major additions to the bike, and that certainly wasn't present when the first models arrived 30 years ago, is a beautiful new front Brembo disc brake, and it works. It makes the bike feel a lot more stable under brakes, and it actually stops. The leading link front end, of course, is vital for the stability of an outfit, and the Ural Tourist has one. Moving a little bit further back along the engine, you can see that it finally has a decent sized alternator, 55 amps, and that's big enough to power all the electrical equipment, including the electric start on the bike. The carburetors are new, Japanese manufactured items, and they work extremely well. This little device down here is the reverse gear. You can use it with your hand or your foot, but it enables the normally 4-speed Tourist to be used in reverse. This is actually a foot brake and holds the bike in place on slopes. This is John Taylor, the boss of Ural Australia. Thanks for letting us play with your toy, John.
It's my pleasure.
How many of these have you actually got in Australia?
Well, at this stage we've sold 45 and they're out on the road, and we've got another 20 just arrived. So customer feedback's been excellent. We're particularly interested to see whether we had any warranty claims, because that's part of feedback, of course, and yeah, no serious issues at all. So it's been really pleasing.
There aren't that many outfits around these days. They seem to have declined in popularity a little bit, and just riding this one today has reminded me of why. It does take a while to get used to them, doesn't it?
They are quite different. I train people to ride sidecars, and the first thing I say to them is that it's not difficult, but it is quite different. and it
Yes.
definitely takes some time.
Now, you've actually got a training facility on your property, or
Yes.
where the national headquarters of the...
That's right, yes. So we're located up in Armidale in northern New South Wales, and on our 1,000-hectare sheep farm there is an excellent venue to teach people, because we've got lots of unusual off-camber roads around the farm, and we take a point of take people around those roads so that they get scared or get a fright and all the things that are going to give them a fright before they have to contend with the traffic.
They learn how it works.
Yeah.
So a potential buyer could in fact come up, stay, do the course,
Yeah.
and then
That's
make
quite-
up their mind about whether or not they want to continue.
That's quite common. So not only they learn to ride a sidecar, but it's an opportunity to do an in-depth familiarity with the Ural motorcycle.
The original Urals developed a fairly bad reputation for reliability and for performance.
They have, yes.
How are you going to overcome that with the new bikes?
Well, it takes time, and it's interesting though. Most people they sort of laugh when you first tell them about Urals coming back into Australia, but once they start to look at it, I mean, they've only got to look at the front end and see the Brembo disc brake, and already they're starting to say, oh, this is a bit different. And by the time we've pointed out all the features, they're quite prepared to give it a fair chance.
There are 3 bikes in the range.
There are 3 different
The
models. There's
Tourist.
the basic Tourist model, which this one is, and then there is a luxury version of the Tourist, and it has leather pleated seats and a bit of trim in the sidecar, nice pinstripe paint job. And then there is an off-road model, and the off-road model comes in a very eye-catching desert or forest camouflage, and it has lots of extras which you can also fit to these bikes. But extras such as a spotlight on the bonnet, and a luggage rack, bumper bar around the front. It's got tractor saddle seats in it, and things that appeal to people who are going to ride the back roads and they want something that's a little bit retro looking.
I guess if you've only really got the one basic bike, yes, it comes in 3 variations, but if you've got one, there's not a problem with parts supply.
It keeps the parts really simple. Yeah. We have one set of parts fits all the bikes, so it's easy for us. They even go to the extent of fitting 2 left-hand carburettors. So one carburettor covers all the...
Right.
And the simpler it is, obviously, the easier it is to maintain and to be able to carry spares.
Well, you've got an unusual warranty situation too, haven't you? In that the warranty from memory is 2 years unlimited
2 years
kilometres.
unlimited kilometres.
And owners can do their own maintenance and
They
and
can
warranty
do their
work.
own maintenance. We always like to see them, faithful to their dealers and create a relationship there with each bike. But having said that, people who are in a remote area, there is a lot of backup on the net for this particular bike for technical information, and we do recognise that people doing their own work, whether it's just the regular services or the warranty, they've obviously got to do the right thing, but if there's a problem, we don't expect them to bring their bike to Sydney to have it rebuilt.
We've really enjoyed our short time with the Ural, but how much do they cost? Well, the base model, the Tourist, retails for $19,500 plus on-road costs. The Luxury is a little bit more expensive, and the Ranger, which is the top line model, is $20,600.